All right, hey folks, gonna do a quick, gonna do a yard tour, a little food forest tour. I'm gonna show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. We haven't spent a lot of time out here. I have been personally out at the farm as much as I could possibly have been, so I will show you what it looks like now, and then you'll see it after a little bit of effort. So stick with me and let's see how the food forest is filling in. Okay, I will show you my embarrassment first. And I'm sorry, it's a windy day, so if this is not, oops, that's too close. If there's wind noise, I really apologize. It is a bit of a windy day today, but I'm going to show you my embarrassment first, and then we'll get to like we put a few hours in yesterday. Anyway, so here's the side yard. This gets very, very little sun. I would say 2 to 3 hours of sun, perhaps a day. Last year I had a whole bunch of potato buckets down here, and to be perfectly honest, it's not enough sunlight for that particular plant. I have some Asiatic lilies that every year put on a absolutely beautiful display. When I planted the Asiatic lilies, there's 4 batches of them here. I used some compost that I had made, and I guess there was some lettuce seeds in it, because the next year the Asiatic lilies came up, and then I was like, what is that? That seems like lettuce. So this was 3 or 4 years ago, and I let her go. I mean, we harvested, but I just let it go to seed, and then every year there's been more and more and more. So in amongst the weeds, I want to show you what I have here. Last year, I took the dried stalks, I pulled them out of the ground, and I whatever you call that, I did that all over the yard. This is this lettuce that's been growing down my side yard here for the last 4 years. It's a dandelion that can get dug out. But if you take a look, there is lettuce everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. I did a great job of just random seeding. So a lot of that is going to get dug up, and it's going to get transplanted, it's going to get put in pots, it's going to get put in beds. I'm not going to waste that. That stuff is, it's now like native to my yard, being that it has grown, seeded, dropped seeds, grown, seeded for like 3-4 years. So, things that I do need to take care of. And I get that this looks like just a hellacious mess. I get that. But by doing the wood chip mulch, and by not having any sod down, the ground it's easier to work. I step on like a big potato fork, ram it in here. Pulling out these weeds is actually really not that much of a pain. Now, there are some things in here that I do want to transplant, so I will show you. This is Achillea millefolium. This is yarrow, and I know for some people it's a weed, but for people in the permaculture realm, this is a darling. It's a beneficial insect attractor. It's a great pollinator for, well, I mean, it attracts the insects, right? And I mean, it's got very nice flowers. The leaves and the flowers are both medicinal. They can help out with a bunch of different ailments when made in the way of a tea. And it is a very prolific plant. It will spread by seed, and it also spreads easily by root division. So, like a little plant like this, I have absolute faith that I could turn this into probably 5 or 6 different plants, and that's one. All right, so we got one there, there's one there. Now these all came from seed from the front food forest. I have a yarrow around every one of my 8 originally planted fruit trees, and then it seems to migrate. And again, for a lot of people that's a pain in the rectal orifice, and I get that. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not any harder to dig that out than it is a dandelion, and it's not very difficult to manage. You can absolutely keep this plant under control, if you so choose. So, yarrow, yarrow, yarrow. These are all going to get dug up. Yarrow, there's the flowers from last year, right, which have probably, you know, reseeded. Another yarrow. These are all going to get dug up and potted. Wow, that one's gotten big. We're going to take care of that. But I'm going to get rid of all of these weeds. Check that out. There's some chives that blew in from seed. There's another chive right there. So I weeded, well, not I, the wife and I weeded the whole front yesterday. We put in a darn good day. I think it looks so much better. But, you know, I kind of got up to about here. So what I did was I left the purple oric. I mean, if it lives, it lives. If it doesn't live, it doesn't live. I honestly, doesn't make no difference to me, to be straight up. My lady's mantle is just banging this year. I've never had it this tall and this happy. So I'm very, very much looking forward to it. I would absolutely like to dry some of these flowers this year and make some tea for the ladies of the house, because apparently it is it's almost second to none for, you know, anything health orientated female wise. So love this plant, and I would like to propagate it and get a few more. So another volunteer yarrow. Oh, another yarrow, another yarrow. Again, like, don't be scared of that. If you know, if you're thinking about growing yarrow, it's just as easy as anything else to control if you put a little bit of effort into it. So what do we got here? This is Siberian ginseng, which I was really not sure if that was going to come back or not. It seems to have. So I mean, this might need to get dug up and potted somewhere else, or put somewhere else. This is some bee balm, which is coming back nicely. This will be year 3, I think, since I started this from seed. Here's my comfrey. Now, what I'd like you folks to understand is that my yard was asleep not even a month ago. And I've shown a few of my close friends, like, look at this. Like, we're a month behind. Everywhere, it seems like everywhere in the gardening world is kind of a month behind this year. My yard is normally starting to wake up in March. It was the start of May before things started poking out of the ground. So this to me is absolutely amazing. This is like a couple of weeks worth of there was nothing there, and now look at it. This this comfrey, that's ready to harvest. This is going to start going to flower here soon, and from everything that I've read, the most potent that comfrey is ever going to get, nutrient-wise, is right before it flowers. All the energy is coming up the plant and going into producing seed. This is not Russian Bocking 14 variety. That has sterile seeds. You don't have to worry about that variety. This is common comfrey. What is it? A Melissa officinalis. It has viable seed, so I'm pretty cognizant of making sure that I chop this down. This year I'm going to be making another batch of fermented plant juice, and I will walk you through that process. I'm going to use the comfrey because it's just such a naturally balanced plant, fertilizer-wise, NPK-wise, and the fermenting process, to me, is night and day an advantage over the comfrey tea. Comfrey tea sucks. I made it last year. It's a great fertilizer, but if you've gone through the process, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. It smells like death. It's bad. Now that's what I call a chive plant. I have a batch of chives around each one of the fruit trees. I did little guilds. I planted this sort of all at the same time 3-4 years ago. I'm gonna have to look into that. Maybe it was 4 now. I think I'm coming into my 4th year. I tried to put some nitrogen fixers in here, some beneficial insect attractants, some bulb plants, some medicinal perennial herbs. This is Elecampane just coming back to life. It's almost like mullein. It's got a very fuzzy, sort of thick leaf, very, very much like the comfrey. I've got chives here. We've got some tulips doing the tulip thing. Those are looking Very, very nice. My daffodils have just died off. This is, and I'm, you know, I don't know, all my peeps that are into the, you know, the fruit trees and that, give me your opinion. Is this, do you think that this is an apricot tree? That looks like it's above the graft to me. Right? Because if it's below the graft, then basically what you're just doing is you're growing a rootstock, which isn't going to be what your tree actually is. This, for some reason, I think, could be another actual apricot tree. So what I was thinking of doing was cutting off these branches, removing this bark, and seeing if I can wrap that in some soil and get some roots to grow, and then I'll have another tree. I could also do that with this one here. And I think it's the right time of year since all the energy is going up the plant. Here's one of my lupins. I will show you my lupin forest in a little bit here. These things are going to be all over my yard. I was at the farmer's market and I was chatting with the dude there, and he's selling plants, right? And I was looking at his lupins, and in a 1 gallon in a 1 gallon pot, he was selling those for $12 a piece. And I was asking him, like, so, you know, you didn't plant those, you transplanted those out from like volunteers, right? He said, yeah, no, absolutely. So we were chit-chatting about it because I've been told by William Coleman that they're notoriously tough to transplant because the taproot is so long. I've played around with it out here, and then after talking to this gentleman at the farmer's market, I think it's imperative, if you want to successfully transplant lupins, that you do it when they're in the seedling stage, because the taproot then is only about that long. Well, you can fit that in a pot. If you let that plant go too long, the taproot is 9, 10, 12 inches long. Well, first of all, digging that out without snapping it is going to be a challenge. And then second of all, like, how many pots do you have that are literally a foot deep to get something started? So they really need to be dug out early, and I'm gonna put that to the test. I plucked a couple of them whilst I was weeding, and I've potted them up, so I'm gonna see how they do. But there's another lupin. This part here, I still need to get up against the neighbor's little white picket fence and do some weeding. That's sweetgrass, so I'm pretty excited that came back. There was 3 actual pots of sweetgrass. That one came back. Again, the comfrey's just looking banging. This is where a pear tree used to be, and this, get my shadow out of the way here, there's the pear tree, and I feel like these shoots have to be coming out of below where the graft was, which means to me that I don't think that these are actually like pear shoots that are coming out. I wanted to leave the plants, or the two pears that died, just to see what happens. And I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't have a very big yard, so it's kind of disappointing. You know, I had 8 spots for fruit trees, and to have 2 of them available, have 25% of my square footage not being used properly, doesn't tickle my fancy, but, you know. And again, oh, I missed you. Man, I came through here and weeded. Look at the size of that. How the hell did I miss that? What? So my buckets still all need to be gone over. Here's a gooseberry, as the folks across the pond say. I call it a gooseberry. You know, if you saw a moose out in the wild, you wouldn't call it a moose, I don't think. But, I mean, this is a gooseberry. That is the thornless variety. And I don't know, I enjoy them. They're actually pretty tasty fruits. Here's one of my cherry trees. This one usually has more blooms than the other one that I have. It's a little bit more branchy, I guess, if you will. Is that a word? Did I make up a word? Do you get credit for that if you make up a word? Anyway, this, I really did try and prune this, and then kind of poking into the middle. I tried to open it up. It's, you know, I'm sure a guy like Woody or a Giant Dormouse is looking at this like that is the most unpruned tree in the world, and it probably needs some attention. I don't, I don't know. I put the fruit trees and bushes in the ground, and I've been learning ever since. So here starts the lupin forest. This is over the last couple of years, some volunteer chives. Oh my stars! Oh, is that lemon balm that came back? Oh my goodness, that's the very first lemon balm plant I've ever had come back. Thistle. Urgh! I hate thistle. But look at the lupins. Look at them. There is going to be some color up in here this year. They are, I mean, they're everywhere over here. Everywhere. I will definitely be digging some of those out, thinning them out, trying a few experiments, but at the same time, I'm just really curious what this looks like this year with all these new volunteers. This is a Jostaberry. It's spelled J-O-S, so a lot of people say Jostaberry. I believe it's pronounced Josta. I pruned this pretty hard last year and tried to do that whole open bowl thing that all my UK buddies talk about. I think I did an okay job. Obviously, a couple of these could go. I'm not 100% sure if this is a plant that puts fruit out on the new growth or if it's like second year growth like currants. But I did try to go through all my fruit bushes and shrubs and try to do a little bit of pruning last year. I didn't do as much this year. I was kind of hoping to collaborate with somebody that knows an awful lot more than I do on the subject, but I've just been trying to clear out stuff that's crossing, leave open space in the middle. This is what is this? It's cranberry, an American cranberry. An American. All right, what else have we got here? There's some more Elecampane popping up. This is French tarragon. This I grew in one of the herb beds out in my backyard 5 or 6 years ago. One of the first things to come up every year, I mercilessly took a spade to it and brought it up front, threw it in the ground, spat at it, and walked away. And every single year, this plant has got to be like a 3x3. So, if anybody's in my area and wants some, we'll dig some of that up for you. This is a Russian olive. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Russian olive. I'll throw in some pictures. The flowers have just died back. It puts on a really nice, like, pink type of display. I was in here digging out a bunch of the grass that grows over from my neighbors, which is a lovely thing. I love grass. I absolutely, it's the best investment of my time ever. But as you can see, like, it's right into the chives, and it's down in through the tulips, and it's coming up through the middle of the lupin. This bed here is going to need to get dug. So I'm going to need to, I'm probably going to end up killing that lupin. I already know that. I was hoping to wait till fall so that I could replant the tulip bulbs deeper. And, oh, hey, there's daffodil still hanging on. Are you kidding me? I'm telling you, man, we had a late spring. My crocuses, I'll throw some pictures in here. I had some beautiful crocuses this year, and I was talking to William about it, and I'm like, oh man, my crocuses, and I was showing him pictures, and he was like, dude, it's the middle of May. How do you have crocuses? I don't know. They just, I don't know. This here's one of my apple trees, and again, I kind of feel like almost this could be taken off, but I would like to see if I can create roots on these 3 nice, long, straight, I mean, that could be 3 more apple trees, right? And then, have this be like low with the branches coming out, but this is flowering. This is the most this tree has ever flowered. I'm super looking forward. I had 5 or 6 apples off of it last year, and oh my goodness sakes. Like, well, again, making apple butter, and oh, it was so fun. Here's currant, red currant. And it is packed with flowers. I don't know if it was the pruning that I did last year. I had an absolute junk display last year. But I think this is a plant that sets fruit on its second year growth, not the first year growth. And last year I remember going through, and anything that I saw that was old, I was like, you're out, you're done, I want to open this up. So I think that's why I cut everything that was going to fruit last year, and then this year, like, look at it. That is going to be absolutely packed. So, I don't know. Still learning. I had to get rid of everything, like most of the weed. Oh, how did I miss? Seriously. I got so many different volunteers. I mean, this is all volunteers. There's Yarrow volunteer, Mountain Oric, Morning Glory. I've got a ton. And I literally mean a ton of sunflowers coming up. I know my buddy William can't seem to ever get a sunflower to volunteer, but I can't get them to not volunteer. They're everywhere. I believe that's an echinacea. I'll coneflower. It's starting to look good, folks. Like, to me, this is looking good. This is a regular gooseberry. Sea buckthorn, that's the female, and then on the other side of the apple tree there is the male. That's a bronze bugle. We got skullcap coming back in. I do need to mulch this area a little bit heavier, but the skullcap makes a fantastic tea for headaches, and every year it self-seeds into a different area and a little bit bigger, so I'm totally digging that. Again, I've got tons that I still need to do. It's some more weeding. I need to get these containers kind of planted out. Some irises. These put on a really nice purple show. I'll let you see that coming up soon here. This apple tree is a different variety, and forgive me for all of you folks that you know every single variety. I can't quite remember which one this one is compared to that, but I was when William was here, this was flowering, okay, and then that one won't yet. That one is the slower to flower, and it's a really, really odd timing to me, because this will flower and be just done, and then the flowers come out on that. So I have no idea how much actual cross-pollination is going on between these. Look at the comfrey. That is huge. That is going to get all harvested. That is going to become a liquid fertilizer. Here is one of the lupins that I accidentally dug up, but the taproot, it was not broken, but it was all of that. To be honest, they have almost what you see poking out of the top is what you're going to expect underneath the soil. So I can totally see how those are not easy to transplant when done at a later stage. Again, last of my little daffodilly doodad hickbobs. Had some crocuses. Here's something interesting I wanted to show y'all, just to you and y'all. This is my this was my spinach bed that I planted out with little starts. Nothing crazy. They weren't great, but I planted them out like last fall just to see kind of what would happen. Now, to be honest, the snow started falling on September 13th. My greenhouse crashed. I basically put 2 fingers up at the world and then went and hid for a while. So I shut the lids on these and was kind of like, whatever, everything's dead. Doesn't matter. Winter's here. Life sucks. And I did not even come out. I didn't open the lids. I didn't water. I didn't create any air movement on warm days. Like, I was a complete bad person, and I didn't do any of that. I opened them up this spring, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, so what kind of a mess is in here? What do I got to clean up? And they were all growing. We get minus 40. February was an entire month of minus 30. The whole month was at least minus 30. It was stupid cold. All that lettuce I had as little tiny starts, smaller than the purple Oric right now, and I planted that out last fall at the same time as I did the spinach. We just did a steamed spinach with a roast chicken last night. So these are all ready to come out. I have other things that are about to get popped in. Those onions were planted in late last fall. And look at this lettuce bed. Are you kidding me? They are absolutely fantastic. This is some of the nicest lettuce I've grown. It just looks and feels so healthy. Stores in the fridge, it's crisp, it's got body, it's not... And I planted this stuff all late last fall and then just left it. So, thistle, the bane of my existence. So anyway, I just thought that's I don't know, that's kind of interesting. I cannot for the life of me believe that came back and lasted over the winter. So, very cool to know. I'm actually kind of thinking of converting these to herb beds because I can't keep sage, I can't keep oregano, I can't keep thyme over the winter. It's too cold. But if I can keep lettuce in here, if I replant these with a bunch of herbs, I should be able to make them perennial herb gardens. Just close the lid in the winter, open them up in the spring, and away we go. So, anywho's, another one of my apricot trees that desperately needs pruning. I should just hack this thing off. And anyway, I need a bit of advice on that. So, this chunk of wood, my nephew, look at the color of it. It was over at my nephew's place. He used to have a snake, so he had that in the snake cage. And then, the snake died, so, he's like, hey, do you want that? And I was like, yeah, that looked great in my yard. I'm like, how did you get it that color? He said he was out in British Columbia on a trip, and they literally just pulled it out of the bush. That's the color. I have no clue what kind of wood that is. I thought it just looked unbelievable, so, hey, there it is. All right, guys. Hey, if you've tagged along for this long front yard food forest bonanza, I totally appreciate it. I still have a bunch of work to do out here. I have been spending way more of my time out at the farm than kind of what I normally would. I'd be putting a bit more time into here, but it's coming back to life, and that was the whole point of planting a perennial-based system. Was that after a while, I would be doing less and less work. A little bit of maintenance here or there. I usually go through in the spring and weed. I'll do another weed in the fall. So, that's like, 2 days worth in here. And then the rest of the time, I don't water. I don't really do much. And, to be honest, it looks pretty good. So, thanks for watching if you have. Like, subscribe, thumbs up if you want to. If you don't. I love the comments, though. Keep them coming, folks. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.